Okay, so my general understanding of the two papers is that um, so the first reading written by Pratik, um, I think condenses the contents of the second reading, which is a bit more abstract, and talks about, for example, how cosmological science and astrobiology broadly affect social, political, and economic systems through, like, let's say, the concept of a paradigm shift. Um, and yeah, the first reading talks about two frames of thinking, globalism versus planetarism, the planetary. And to me, I think the key word here is like perception. So basically, it's like, globalism positions humanity as an all-knowing kind of species, like the superior species. And actually, I drew like some simple, like, or some sketches that illustrate this. So globalism, it's kind of illustrated by this diagram where it's so dark, where it's, like, humans are seen as the center of the world or the universe, and everything around it are like smaller in hierarchy, and it views it as, like, everything's connected to humans. Whereas the planetary, the humans are just part of like an interconnected system. So we are like as important as, let's say, some other life forms, like ecology, right? And in the center of it all is the planet Earth, which we share collectively as our home. And then also another concept illustrated by this diagram is like what's outside of our perception, outside our worldview, because right now we are operating on assumptions, even as like humans. Oh wait. Yeah. And instead of viewing the world as a global, we as designers, in trying to strive for like a sustainable, regenerative future, should view the world with a planetary frame of thinking. And then another concept is like the unpredictable nature of the world, and then planetarity, which challenges the notion of understanding the Earth through an organizational logic, or even the attempt to understand, the complexity of Earth systems. So, we as designers must, or we as humans even, must confront and sit with uncertainty and be able to adapt and respond to challenges, changes and unexpectedness. So what I found interesting in terms of, I was talking about the first reading, I'll talk about the second reading. What I found interesting about the second reading was how, it talks about how, since like astrobiology is a very broad branch, like probably the broadest study of science, and how science and technology, is what dictates shifts in humanity, because humanity has an innate fear of being left behind. That's my interpretation. Right, so science dictates progress, dictates like economy. For example, like, I don't know, the discovery of, or the invention of electricity which led to mechanized production, which led to the Industrial Revolution. So these are like, scientific discoveries that have dictated how economies work. For example, or like oil becoming portable energy, or right now we are in the age of electricity and how everything is running on electricity. There's a whole new dimension, which is like alternate realities, for example, social media, technology. And in the second reading, they were talking about technospace, I think. Technosphere. Yeah, so like the biosphere and the technosphere. I thought that was interesting. But also, like, the second reading, I found some parts hard to grasp. For example, like, the concept of planetary metabolism, or like metabolism. I don't really get that part. Yeah, and like emergent design, they kind of lost me there in terms of, yeah, I didn't get it. The metabolic thinking, I don't get why it's called metabolic thinking, but yeah, I think it's way longer than 30 seconds, but yeah, that's my review.